So let's say that this conference is about Vision Tawang 10 years. So from 10 years from now, what kind of Tawang we wanted to see? What are the changes that we want to bring in Tawang? Now the main economy of Tawang in the next 10 years, as I see, I'm not a great economist, but I see that 80% of Tawang's economy is going to be homestay and hotels, hospitality economy. So if we do not plan well, we are going to be the next Mussoorie and Shimla and Gangtok. I've seen cloudbursts in Tawang, which we haven't heard for a long time. We had drinking water crisis in Tawang, which we haven't faced for a long time. We see major landslides in the road to Tawang, which we haven't seen for a long time. The most honorable, the Home Minister, and all the dignitaries, His Eminence 𝐘𝐿𝐒 and all the Sangha members, my dear students, and a special welcome to all the Tibetan students who have gathered here from all different parts of India. Thank you so much for coming to Tawang. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I wanted to tell you about two important teachings that the Lord Buddha gave us as a Buddhist. When Lord Buddha first gave the teaching in Sarnath, he talked about anidya, the impermanence. Impermanence meaning that everything changes from day to day. Whatever you do, the change is imminent. It will come anyway. That is the first teaching. And the second teaching, which the Lord Buddha gave, was the Pratitya Samubhaddha, which is dependent arising. In Tibetan we call Tendel. So here in the second teaching, the Lord Buddha talks about if change is imminent, if change is going to come, how should we tackle it? How should we face it? And the Lord Buddha says, we should face it collectively. We should face it together. So it's a great honor for me today to stand here in front of all of you. And I want to remind all of you that this is not a common gathering or a common meeting. We are creating history in Tawang. So this is the first conference in collaboration between Mumbai Youth Education Association and International Tibetan Association. So we are creating history. We all should remember that important thing. So I'm here to talk about the aim and objectives. The aim and objectives can be very vast. Sometimes we count many things. This is the first thing, this is the second thing. Not so relevant, not so practical ones. So today, I'm going to talk about some practical things. Some things that really matters in Tawang. Something related to us. So let's say that this conference is about Vision Tawang 10 years. So from 10 years from now, what kind of Tawang we wanted to see? What are the changes that we want to bring in Tawang? So all the students here who came here for the conference, you have to have a vision in your life. You need to have a goal in your life. So vision, I'm not talking about next life. I'm not talking about nirvana, which are very far away. I'm not talking about 30, 40 years. I'm talking about 10 years. So in 10 years, how Tawang will be known globally? First, let's talk about ecologically, environmentally, how Tawang will be known to the world. Next, economically, then spiritually, culturally, and as a human being, as a Buddhist community, how will we be known to the world in next 10 years? So let's first talk about ecology of Tawang. As all of you are aware, we live in a very fragile Himalayan mountain belt. It's a very new part of the world that was formed recently in the history due to major earthquakes. These mountains were very new, the rivers are new, they're very fragile. Our environment is very fragile. So we need to protect it. So when we talked about protecting our environment, the responsibility lies with you students. We have to make plans for the next 10 years, how we are going to talk about our environment. Let me point one or two things. I have spent most of my last 25 years in South India and haven't spent much time in Tawang. It was only this year that I spent long time in Tawang. And within this short period, I've seen cloudbursts in Tawang, which we haven't heard for a long time. We had drinking water crisis in Tawang, which we haven't faced for a long time. We see major landslides in the road to Tawang, which we haven't seen for a long time. So these are real challenges before all of you students. When you plan your future, whatever you do, you have to bring your environment with you. What are the causes for this? Cloudburst is not what sometimes we say God's act. It's not God's act. It's entirely human act. I'm not a scientist, but we all know that cloudburst happens when the atmosphere air, the temperature rises. When the temperature of the air rises, it becomes warm and it holds larger moistures in the sky. So the larger number of water is preserved in the sky and it falls down immediately, so the cloudburst happens. So this is scientific saying, not me. So that is one thing. So how we are going to prevent those things? And the next important thing, just yesterday on the Gandhi Jayanti, we had a water crisis in Tawang for the whole town. Thanks to the district administration and our MLA sir and all the concerned people, it was resolved within one day. But how do these drinking water problems come in Tawang? When I was young, before I became a monk, I lived as a nomad. I go with the yaks and animal rearing. You all know that everywhere we go in Tawang, we can drink the water directly. There is never a water shortage crisis in Tawang. Does any of you remember that we have water storage tanks, locally what we call sin tanks? We do not have in Tawang water storage tanks because the water comes naturally and we drink it. But now, we need water storage tanks. The flow of drinking water becomes uncertain. So place like Tawang, which is the hub of drinking water in Asia, the purest water, if we are facing these problems, something is wrong with our environment. So the responsibility again lies on our young generations. How should we plan our life ahead so that our environment is not disturbed? That is the second thing. And I want to be frank. This is a festive season in Tawang now. My dear Tibetan students, you might have seen long traffics in Tawang. Maybe our home minister also faced difficulties to come to the venue with large traffics. Maybe you have pilots, so the police clear the road for you, but not for the general public. So traffic is becoming a new problem in Tawang. So the urban planning, development of our houses, We cannot build anything without conscience. We have to plan our township. And this doesn't rest on the district administration alone. The responsibility lies in each and every citizen of this town. Let me give you one example. I was in Japan in 2011. And I was walking on one of the busiest train stations in Tokyo. And in front of me, there was a person walking, and he took out something from his pocket. Accidentally, a piece of small garbage fell down from his pocket. He was unaware of that. That was unintentional. So the person walked away. Yes, the next person who is walking after him was the pilot of the bullet train. He went and picked up that trash, put it into his own pocket, and went. So this is how we keep the city clean. We cannot always blame the administration. Every individual has to take responsibility to keep Tawang clean and traffic things. We have to respect traffics. Now the main economy of Tawang in the next 10 years, as I see, I'm not a great economist, but I see that 80% of Tawang's economy is going to be homestay and hotels, hospitality economy. So if we do not plan well, we are going to be the next Mussoorie and Shimla and Gangtok. I was in Mussoorie last year. The traffic for 35 kilometers from Dehradun to Mussoorie takes 6 hours. Nobody wants to go to such a place where traffic is the main concern. So if we want to make Tawang economically great, we have to respect traffic. So this is again one responsibility that the younger generations here, you have to be mindful of all of those things. That is one thing I want to remind you. So this is about the impermanence teaching. These changes are going to come anyway, but the Tibetan arising teaching on the dental teaching by Buddha says we can all face it together so that we move forward and we bring a solution to that. So that is the very foundation teaching of Lord Buddha. We have to live our life. And next I wanted to talk about Tawang, the people of Tawang as a Buddhist community. We have many centuries of historical connection, cultural connection, spiritual connection with Tibet, with Buddhism, with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Tawang being the birthplace of 6th Dalai Lama. And I also wanted to tell everyone that in December 4 to 6, there is going to be an international conference on 6th Dalai Lama, the very birthplace of 6th Dalai Lama in Tawang. So what are the moral ethics we have to live? His Holiness the Dalai Lama always says that the people of Himalaya have to show an example to the rest of the India as a moral, responsible community. If your neighbor needs help today, will you go out and help your neighbor today? Or will you just have a sound sleep? Doesn't care, whatever happens to your neighbor. So we are not that community. We are a Buddhist community. We live by morals of love and compassion. The very teaching of the Lord Buddha, that you have to help other people. If you cannot help other people, you cannot harm other people. That is our main goal. So that is the main teaching. We have to live by that principle. So when our younger generations grow up, I'm sometimes a little bit worried about Tawang. So when you younger generations, in the next 10 years, when you finish your studies, when you started to work, when you do something for your community, you have to live by these moral principles. These moral principles has to be your backbone. So bring peace, compassion, love to this town. Then the Tawang will be the real role model for the whole India and the whole world. People will stop coming to just look at our mountains and lakes. People will also come to look at our monasteries. But monasteries will become empty houses if we do not practice these teachings of Buddha. So the younger generations, in next 10 years, you have to prepare for this. The world is going very fast towards different ways. So how we have to plan our world. Each one of you has your own world in your hand. So you have to go forward and plan those things nicely. So finally, the aim and the objectives of this conference is to see that the younger generations of Tawang, when you grow up in the next 10 years, you become a responsible citizen of this country. You do something good for your hometown. This is the real aim of this conference. This conference is to wake you up. This conference is to ignite that fire in you, to do something for your township. As a student, that is your responsibility. As a student, now is your main responsibility is to study, do more research, look for higher studies, not just universities or colleges around here. Go for universities worldwide. The door is opened all over the world. We should go everywhere, bring the best wisdom and knowledge, and come back to our hometown and serve your hometown. So this is the aim and objective of this Tawang. Finally, in Tibetan, we have a saying that don't become a burden, but become an ornament. So as a student, you have to become an ornament for our society, not a burden. And I wanted to thank all the guests and students here today. The organizing committee, I've known them for many months. They've really worked day in and hard to put this together for this conference. The organizing members from Sarnath, Wangchenla, Namgyal Khandu, and all other members, they traveled from Sarnath to Tawang multiple times to make this conference a success. A huge round of applause to them. Thank you so much for making this conference. Thank you.